XRP Dark Pools, private ledgers, and $100,000 XRP. Let's break it down. I'm seeing a new round of misinformation and FUD being spread, so let's address it and cut right through the noise. For the people that have been around, I'm not going to be explaining anything that you don't already know, but this is for the new people that are getting scared. They're hearing that their XRP is only at $2 and the institutions are going to get XRP at 100,000 on the private ledger. That's not happening. It's not going to happen. Let me explain. What's now being referred to as dark pools, and this is actually a common name for what are OTC exchanges, over-the-counter trading for institutions. That's what takes place where institutions go to buy and sell away from the public order books. The same thing is done in the stock market. It's done with other cryptos. This is nothing new or specific to XRP. So let's get that out of the way. And I want to make a point. We got to give Ripple credit for being responsible custodians and distributors of XRP. Think about this. Ripple's only been selling XRP over the counter to their institutional partners since 2019, which means they've been able to get rid of their massive supply of XRP without impacting the price negatively. In fact, XRP's pumped tremendously since November, right? So not only did price not go down, price is actually going up while they've been able to distribute their supply of XRP to institutional partners that are going to use XRP for its utility. This is what we want. Now let's talk about private ledgers. Some of their central bank, government, institutional partners, they want private ledgers where they can keep messaging and transactions hidden from the public view. This is nothing special. It's nothing crazy or nefarious. It's just very common. And this is why you see other blockchains like XDC have the same hybrid model where they have a public side of the chain and they have a private side. Same thing that Constellation DAG did with their work with the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense doesn't want their transactions on the public ledger. So Constellation Network created a private network, a private node, Metagraph in their case, for Department of Defense. So this is a very common practice. Nothing new with what Ripple's been doing with their central bank and government partners. It's the same thing. And David Schwartz has already addressed this, so you don't have to take it from me. He's clarified that there are not two prices of XRP on the public ledger versus the private ledger, right? And what folks really need to understand here is why would an institution go pay $10,000 per XRP on the private ledger or even in the OTC dark pools? Why would they do that when it's available on the public market for $2? They won't pay that premium. The reason why they go OTC is because they don't want to impact the price while they accumulate. These institutions know that XRP is not going to be, they knew it wasn't going to be at 50 cents forever, and they also know it's not going to be at $2 for very long. And we're starting to move up today. You're seeing that. They know XRP is intended to be at a much higher price. So they're trying to accumulate as much as possible without moving the market. So that's why they're doing it OTC. Now, when it comes to the private ledgers, you could wrap XRP, create a derivative product of XRP and put it on private ledgers. But XRP only exists on the public XRP ledger that we all use, right? That's the only place XRP can ever exist. XRP on any other chain, on a private ledger, is a wrapped version or some sort of derivative product for XRP. It's not true and pure XRP. Your XRP can never leave the XRP ledger. So let's just get very clear about that. Let's be very clear about there not being two separate prices. If they wanted to conduct a test and they created a synthetic XRP over on a private ledger and they wanted to conduct a test with XRP at 100,000 per XRP, for example, they could do so. But that's not the real XRP. Right? Never was, never would be. So we really have to understand what's taking place here. Nothing new under the sun as far as Ripple selling OTC in dark pools, which is a common name for OTC. I don't like to use it because it has a negative connotation and folks compare it to stocks that have been manipulated in the past. The beautiful thing about the public blockchains is we get to see it all. So they can, conduct these transactions OTC, but we will see the transactions on the blockchain. And that's where you keep on seeing those whale wallet movements where 50 million, 100 million XRP gets moved off of Coinbase to an unknown wallet. There's a lot of these whale transactions that we're seeing on the public chain. We just can't confirm who it is, but we see it taking place. We also know that Ripple had over 1,700 NDAs per the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. we know that at times they were actually selling XRP at a discount to those institutional partners. So once again, there's not two separate prices. Institutions aren't going to go pay a higher price for XRP on the private ledger. In fact, they're actually probably going to pay a discounted price for XRP over the counter from Ripple. And that's perfectly fine. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, right? If an institution wants to use XRP and they show up and they want to buy, in the case of R3 wanted 5 billion XRP from Ripple. And that's just one institution that wanted 5% of the XRP supply. They conducted an options contract where they could buy XRP for a sub penny over the course of 3 years. It was a heck of a deal for R3. The deal ended up falling apart and they only settled up for 1 billion XRP when it was all said and done. But that's just one example of an institution that was trying to acquire 5% of the entire supply of XRP, right? So they're not the only one. We know that there were 1,700 other NDAs and contracts. We know that there was dozens and dozens of partners that bought XRP from Ripple during the lawsuit. And all of this was happening OTC. So it's nothing new, nothing nefarious. I know some people want that narrative so bad. And you see this from a retail investor perspective where they say, I'm never going to make it. They're never going to let me get rich. They're never going to let the XRP investor get rich. Well, many XRP investors have already made significant gains just on the move to $2, but XRP does have higher targets well into the double digits very conservatively. And so there will be much, much higher prices for XRP. Is it going to go to 10,000 or 100,000? I'll leave that up for others to speculate on. I'm excited to go on this journey, somewhere between $2 and 20,000. Somewhere in between is where XRP's fundamental value will be at. And we'll see if Ripple and other institutional partners, folks like you and me, all of us together can drive value to XRP and the XRP ledger. And together we can see XRP go to a lot higher prices, and we will. I firmly believe that. But for the new people here, I don't want you to get scared seeing these dramatic TikToks with the music and everything. And you got guys looking like they're about to cry because retail is going to get screwed. It's nonsense. I mean, this is how the game is played. You either make absolute FUD nonsense about XRP to get views, or you hype up XRP saying that it's going to $100,000 overnight to get views. What I like to do with my platform is cut through the noise, deliver you the truth, deliver you the facts. Listen to David Schwartz. You don't have to take it from me. There are not two separate prices from the public ledger and the private ledger. XRP only exists and will only ever exist on the public XRP ledger. Today's price is $2.24. We are moving higher. I'll be dropping a full update on my YouTube. Make sure you guys check that out. And we will also be back live tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern for our regular Tuesday, Thursday live shows. And in tonight's live show, we are actually going to be picking the winners of our 1,000 XRP giveaway. So you guys make sure you come on back for that. I appreciate you for sharing this one out far and wide. Don't be scared of XRP Dark Pools, private ledgers, or scared of XRP being at $100,000 somewhere else. That's not happening. It's not going to happen. On the public ledger, will we see XRP go to those prices? I'll leave it to you guys in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.